Broads Media.
I'm sick of it. I am so sick of this nonsense that is 76ers basketball. When will it end? From a fan perspective, why is it every single year I have to deal with crap and I have to deal with somebody holding out and I'm not going to show up and I won't be there at training camp and I don't want to put on the uniform? I just want normal basketball. I want a normal franchise. I want to root for my team and love them. Here's a new addition, Nick Nurse. The guy's a hell of a strategic coach, but you don't even know who your primary ball handler is going to be. So, if you live under a rock, here's what happened this morning, and it's Monday, right? So I'm recording this Monday afternoon. Sunday, I recorded a show about the Eagles in the morning, and then in late afternoon, late evening, I recorded a show about the Phillies. And I looked ahead at the schedule because I like to map out the days that I have a game recap and, the obvious shows. So after a Phillies game, I know I have one that night. Nothing on the schedule for Monday except for an Eagles practice to keep your eye out for. Okay, fair enough. But I'm laughing Sunday night saying, well, something's going to happen. Something will pop up. And then literally I open my eyes at 7 a.m. and the first thing I see is James Harden in China going full vocal that Daryl Morey is a liar and I'm never going to play for an organization that has him in it. Here's the thing. Yo, James, okay? Look, I don't know what was once said when it comes to money, when it comes to a contract. Hey, nod, nod, wink, wink, we'll hook you up down the road. I don't know. It would just be speculation. I'm sure, knowing their relationship and knowing how close they are, at some point, to some level, there was dialogue on what they were going to do moving forward. But let's not act like James Harden isn't a real problem here. Everywhere he goes, it ends like this towards the end, okay? So I'm not letting Daryl Morey off the hook for everything, but I'm not blaming him more than I'm blaming James Harden. James, dude, remember Christmas time when there was no reason at all for Woj to drop a huge bomb on us on Christmas Day when the Sixers are getting ready for action, when they're going to go compete and play the New York Knicks? Well, James Harden's going to try and get his way back to Houston. James Harden, well, where did that come from? You and your little buddies and your team started to leak info, and you did that at that time of the year. Your brain's always been all over the map. Okay, this is what you wanted. You wanted out of here, and it's going to take Daryl Morey to do it. You don't want to piss him off because he'll play the long game, as he should. Daryl Morey shouldn't get rid of him just to try and save this season and not have the long term in mind, because contractually speaking, Tobias Harris will be off the books. James Harden, getting him off the books, it opens up what you can do if you bring back some role pieces and some random slop that's not going to help you legitimately. It may actually cause a trickle-down effect and then ruin what maybe could have been with free agency or anything else. So I think it would be foolish to get him out of your face just because he's angry. It's bad optically, right? It is a tough look to hear an NBA player call out someone he's that close with and say that he's a full-on liar. What's Tyrese Maxey thinking? Because we already saw that they were playing the waiting game for him and his contract. How's Joel Embiid feel? Okay, I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. It's another season where I have to deal with garbage. Ben Simmons didn't want to be here. Now it's James. It's crazy. I thought at one point that maybe they'd be able to hash this out. They went to the party with Michael Rubin, the all-white party. They were hanging out there. It didn't seem like they despised one another. And Joel Embiid publicly got asked a couple questions, and he said, this is just part of the business. I love James Harden. I would love for him to be back here. He's one of my guys, but he's got to do what he's got to do. That doesn't mean it's any less frustrating to go to training camp, and before the ball even tips with a new coach, you're dealing with this level of drama. That's what James Harden wants, though. He wants it to be uncomfortable. What he's forgetting, though, is that Daryl Morey operates very well when he's uncomfortable. Some don't. Some let the pressure get to them, then they do stupid things. We're not messing around. All right, so when there's information leaked about a day ago or so that they're not fielding any more calls, and I don't know why Daryl Morey would push that agenda, because that's what happened. The Sixers, Daryl Morey, that's who leaked that side of the story for James Harden to even have the rebuttal that was released by Shams Monday morning by James Harden's camp. So they were countering what Daryl Morey leaked. I don't know why he was saying that. Was he pushing the buttons? Was he kind of poking the bear is the best way to describe it? I'm not really sure what the mindset and the philosophy is. That's why I'm saying there are some details to this that make me wonder why. Daryl, what was the reasoning? Why would you put that out there? It's the middle of August at this rate. You know when basketball season starts? You got to the end of October. So there's a lot of time until then. What was the purpose for over the weekend? I'm just getting annoyed. I really am. They are sucking the fun out of Sixers basketball for me, and I've been more optimistic than most. I actually wanted to run it back with James Harden and Nick Nurse, and because I think that gives you the best opportunity and the best chance to kind of save what this is. It might not be enough. It may not get you a championship, but I know the alternative could be horrendous, and I'm willing to take another swing at it. Now, it's like I don't even know what to do anymore. I'm in my feelings, right? So right now, I'm telling you that there's no buzz, but maybe as soon as they play 10, 15 games and I start to see a style and Tyrese Maxey picks up some things from Nick Nurse and they start to incorporate this awesome electric, intense defense, and it's just a fun watch. I don't know, maybe I do enjoy it because let's say the bar is super low and the expectations are dry because of all this, and then bang, you get smacked in the face with something that's entertaining. I'm not ruling that out at all, but it's hard for me to see that right now as we're sitting in the filth and we're sitting in the slop. And that's exactly what this is. James Harden wanted to slop this thing up, make it super messy. He went for it twice. He did the old double dip. Let me repeat it. Let me say it again. Daryl Morey is a liar, which is a huge statement to say publicly about one of the most respected president of basketball ops that are in the league right now. He does have a big resume, and people do love Daryl Morey, and he's straight up taking shots at him and doesn't give a damn whatsoever because he wants it to get so ugly that there's a knee-jerk reaction, but he's forgetting who he's dealing with. He should know. If he's someone who is as close as Daryl Morey as he is, and we know that their relationship was strong, they were super, super close. I don't know if this is the route I would like to take. At the end of the day, though, these players, they get what they want. Ben Simmons got moved, okay? It maybe didn't take the path he wanted, but he wasn't wearing a Sixers uniform. James Harden no longer wanted to be with the Nets. He was not with the New York Nets, or the Brooklyn Nets, excuse me. It's just how this thing goes. So I do feel eventually he will somehow get to wherever he wants to go to. It's just going to be a horrible experience for us. We get hurt. We're the ones that are getting killed here. And I don't really blame Daryl Morey, though. I don't want him to do something dumb just to fix the right now. Unfortunately, that's the predicament we're in, that this is going to take time. And now I'm basically admitting that this could be the punt year. Whatever. It's a whatever year. What's the roster look like the following year? They won't stink. They won't be good enough to get past the second round, though. And you could say, well, bros, they weren't going to anyway with James Harden. I don't know that. They had one of the best offensive efficiencies with the two-man game between the guy who led the league in scoring and the guy who led the league in assists. And now you're adding someone who's better schematically from a coaching standpoint. I don't know what that is. Maybe in Game 6 when you have a lead, instead of allowing it to be horrible basketball, Nick Nurse settles things down, gets the ball to your best player, the MVP of the league, and then you close it out at home and you win in 6. That's not some outrageous thing to think, okay? We're talking 5-6 minutes of basketball. Can Nick Nurse be better than Doc Rivers in a final 5-minute span at the back end of a game? I think the answer to that is yes. Now, I don't know. I don't know if that's the difference. I'm saying I'm willing to take that shot compared to whatever this year is without James Harden, unless you get something back in return that's a lot better than the LA Clippers role pieces. Powell, 17 points per game. It just doesn't tickle my fancy. And James, dude, you saw the market, man. You know it's not what you anticipated, hence why you opted in. You put yourself in this position. You screwed up. You wouldn't be here if you just opted out and then went to wherever you wanted. But hold on, here's the kicker, man. That wasn't an option for you because you know the rest of the league said you aren't worth the top dollar. You're not worth that contract. And this is a business. And if at one point Daryl Morey thought that maybe he would be worth that type of cash and then saw how he played in Game 6, saw how he played in Game 7, saw how he played in basically every game except for the 2 that he dropped 40 plus, well then once again it goes back to you. If you balled out, then you're not in this predicament. You controlled the final outcome. It's just you sucked. You sucked, which costed you money. If you closed the door, if you played sharper, if you were better at your job, then we're not even in this situation and we're not having this discussion. You're getting paid and you're moving on to a nice contract. You're getting paid and you're chilling instead of being in China calling out Daryl Morey. It was so staged, it's funny. Seriously, even the way Shams tweets out the quote with the video, it is perfectly the way James Harden wanted it to look. Kudos to him. So now your names start to buzz. It sucks when it's your franchise. We see this happen all the time in this league when it's everybody else. And you laugh at them, you crack up. Look at these bums. Look at what they have to deal with. Now it's you. And it just makes you reflect back to everything we've been through. Dating back to when Ben got drafted, and it's just horrible, man. It's horrible. Is it karma for tanking on purpose? Blah, 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 blah. It didn't need to be this way. Didn't need to be this way. I love Joel Embiid to death. I don't want to blow this thing up because finding an MVP caliber guy, it doesn't happen very often. Allen Iversons don't grow on trees. Joel Embiid's don't grow on trees. But there just seems to be something that smells horrible that's following this franchise. The black cloud. And it's not Joshua Harris. All he cares about is money. All owners care about money. Jeffrey Lurie cares about money. John Middleton cares about money. Every single owner in the history of the world cares about money. From an ownership standpoint, Joshua Harris, David Blitzer, they're providing this team things that result in success. A brand new state-of-the-art Camden facility that is beautiful. Spending money, willing to give contracts to players, not being shy on writing a check. If it's a big name, it's worth a lot, let's go do it. Like, you're not handcuffed because they're unwilling to do things. Anything a president needs, anything a GM needs, anything a team needs, here you go. That's their job. That's their duty. Would I love everyone to be Philadelphia and have that same exact connection as Lurie? Sure, it's definitely better, but just because they do it differently doesn't mean they're not holding their end of the bargain. There's more to it. You want to date back to how the NBA stepped in and Sam Hinkie and this and that. Whatever. I don't want to live in the past, but unfortunately when things like this happen, it makes you reflect into, okay, this happened, which made this happen, which made this happen. Like acquiring James Harden for Ben Simmons, I would never in a billion years go back and change that. At the time of the trade, it was the right thing to do, and it was worth pursuing. Do I need to reiterate how important it is to realize that you had the leading scorer in the league and the leading assist man in the league and went into the postseason with that? You got that for someone who wouldn't practice. He wouldn't even practice. He'd get kicked out because he was giving zero efforts. And James Harden, at some point, it's probably going to do that. It's going to fall into that level of Come on, man. I can't believe it. And we're going to fine you. And then there's going to be a loophole for him to try and get his money. With Ben, it was the mental health stuff. I don't know what James Harden's going to do, but they're going to do whatever they can to manipulate it. So the money goes to him, even though he got fined for not showing up and whatever. I mean, here's something. There is a lot of the fan base that thinks that Daryl Morey is overrated. I'll pose this question to you, even though I don't fall into this camp at all. If he claims he won't play for Daryl Morey because he's a liar and won't put on a jersey for any organization that he works for, would you kick Daryl Morey to the curb and then see if that's enough for him to be willing to come back? Or do you want to get rid of both? And what do you want to do? Like, what would you do legitimately? And I know it's the heat of the moment, and we're going to hear, get rid of both and restart this thing. But I don't know if you can with where Joel Embiid is right now. What this does do, though, I think this opens up the door for Joel Embiid, and he already did it himself. He's the one, actually, not too long ago to say, well, if I win a championship, whether it's in Philadelphia or elsewhere, so it's already popped into his brain. This is just more of a push in the back to give him that nudge that he needs to ask for a trade, to get out of here. We're not too far off from that. I wouldn't want to deal with that at all, and it's nonstop for him. It's not once in a while. We have been drama-filled since I can remember. I don't remember a time where this wasn't drama-filled, and I could imagine that's very tiring for the superstar, for the face of the franchise. As much as he wants to put his head down and work and grind and be in the best shape of his life and be a fantastic scorer from the nail, what do you do if you're Nick Nurse? Now, when you're around these guys all the time, you kind of get how it goes, so I don't think he's baffled or stunned that he's dealing with a superstar who is unhappy. It happens all the time. He lost Kawhi Leonard after winning a championship. I'm sure that there was some tough conversations that were had. You win a title, it's like, yeah, look at what we just did. Look what we can do. Maybe we could build some sustained success and make a run at this thing. He leaves. I'm not saying it's the same exact. I don't think Kawhi was as disappointed. It's easier to leave when you win a title because you did your job. I'm just saying, when you're around pro sports and when you're around these pro athletes for as long as you are, you tend to not get surprised by it because you've seen it all, and you get how they operate. This is how they operate. This is the league. They run the asylum. The crazy people run the asylum, and that's what it is. But, man, you're trying to incorporate, a new style, a new game plan, a new way of going about your team and a philosophy, and who's your point guard? Is it Tyrese Maxey? Is that the guy? Well, guess what? You're going to have to put him like Nick Nurse stated in one of his opening press conferences. We're going to have to put him in pick and rolls, put him with some screens, and put him in situations where he's got to learn on the fly how to find his teammates and get him to be a better passer. And that's what you're going to have to rely on. I love Maxey to death, but that's a heavy amount of shoes to fill and a big role to be in. I'm not saying he can't. I just don't know how long it takes to grow into that. If you can. I always had that internal debate on whether you have it or you can learn it. I think you can learn it enough to get by. That is, be a point guard, the instincts, but it's not natural to him. Natural to him is downwards, head down, attacking the rim, going to the paint, and trying to score. Floater, mid-range J, attacking the glass for a layup, step back three. That's what he likes to do. Transition three, and I love it. If no James Harden, he's going to have to be a completely different player. He's willing to learn how to do it. He's obsessed with the game. I know he'll try and put all of his efforts into it. There's no doubt it won't be for a lack of a preparation or a lack of attempts or a lack of work ethic. Can he be a real legitimate point guard on a championship caliber team? I'm not just getting rid of James Harden. I'm not just getting rid of him for slop and guys that might ruin the possibility of what you can do with openings of a contract. I'm not. With Tobias gone, that's why it's like this whole punt year thing. If it really does benefit your team and you can work around the return that makes sense legitimately, then fine. Until then, we're playing hardball. Which segues perfectly to my in or out on Twitter. And you can follow me on Twitter at Broads81. In or out. This was posted 3 hours ago. We got just about 400 votes. The in or out statement today, Sixers dumpster fire edition. Daryl Morey should continue to play hardball with James Harden. 62% of the voters are in with that, and 38% are out. I'm surprised. I thought that there would be a lot that would want to be out on that and say, just forget about it. I don't want to deal with him. But because we are petty as hell, and this is the first response that we have is from Matt, and he says here, I want to see Harden miserable. So there's a lot of emotions of I can't stand this guy's a loser, this guy's a clown. I want him to feel pain, and we're going to make him feel that pain. Forget about us for a second. Forget about what benefits the Sixers. I want him to be in hell. Now, that could be a little too far out there, because what I want is, I believe Daryl Morey's doing this. I want Daryl Morey to focus on the Sixers. Whatever's best for the Sixers. I don't care what the optics are. I don't care how it looks, how it feels, how it sounds. What's best for the Sixers? And I'll get fed up with it if it's a long-term thing. It doesn't mean it's a wrong thing, though. I've already seen 7 reports since the last time we talked about James Harden, and I knew it would be a roller coaster ride. I knew it would be he said, she said. I knew it would be Shams and Woj and Ramona Shelburne and every single national reporter throwing out all sorts of things over the next 2 or 3 months, because that's what this league is. It takes something like this for us to pop our head back in, but it's so annoying, and I am over it. The Sixers are so filled with this that I think they're losing a ton. I'm normally the last one to jump of like, I can't deal with this anymore, and I'm definitely more in that direction than I ever have before. I'm not fully off yet, but I get it. I totally understand. I sense it, and I think it's legitimate. There's no reason to rip apart someone who feels that they can't do this anymore. They don't want to go through this anymore. The Phillies, while they're frustrating, not even close to a level like this. The Eagles, everything's flying high right now. You feel good about them. The Flyers seem to have a front office that is understanding and willing to put their foot in the right direction and rebuild. They have the number 4th prospect and the number 9th prospect, according to NHL Network, right now in the top 50. Also on 49 was Tyson Forster. So that's 3 guys in the top 50 prospects, 2 of them being in the top 10, 1 of them being in the top 5. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's something that looks awesome right in front of our eyes. What looks awesome with this team? Yeah, you know what? I do like Tyrese Maxey, but that is not going to overpower and overshadow whatever you want to call this. I have a very hard time even finding words to describe whatever we go through on a daily basis with this team. And I'm wondering, how is this going to conflict with me being a fan during the season? Game 22, Game 25, Game 36, Game 39. You know, if James Harden was happy and willing to run it back, not everyone would feel as good as I would. I would have fun. I would have fun with Nick Nurse, Harden, Maxey, Tobias, Embiid. If they had a happy core, Pat Bev off the bench, PJ Tucker, let's get creative. Let's see some different things. Paul Reed out the mud. I get that they're still like, hey, get out of the second round, dude. But I would give them a reasonable leash to do something. I would be okay with that. The turmoil, though, spins me around a billion times. And I'm lost. I'm lost on how to feel. And that's a really tough spot to be in as a fan base. It's terrible. All right. Let's get to some Anytime Hotline stuff. We'll start with the text board. My guy Ant out in Cali. Ant's a beauty. Ant's good people, man. Ant says, never liked Harden. Never wanted him. Never appreciated his game or style. I have some thoughts on that, but I'll finish your text first. He's a buster. He thinks he's the hot shot because he's won MVP and because he scored 50 on occasion or whatever, but the dude is lost mentally. He can't even hit mid-range jumpers. It's a step-back 3 or a foul, or it's a dribble for 20 seconds and chuck it up. Get him away from our city! In all caps and 4 exclamation points. Trade him for literally anything. Find me a player like Lorenzen. Well, we can't find someone who's going to throw a no-hitter, the equivalent in the NBA world. Get Brick Ross out of my life. I got a few pushbacks. Say you never wanted him, never appreciated his game. You should be able to appreciate it. I know you're a basketball guy, Ed. All right, I know. We talk a lot. We go back and forth. You're a basketballsman. You know that he's one of the greatest to ever play the game. You know that he's a special talent. He's no longer in his prime, but a no longer in his prime guy, just led the league in assists. He's one of the best passers the Sixers ever had in their organization. Like that, he's that lethal of a passer. We can't pretend it's not there. So that's all. Like, I'm with you. I get it. I do. I really do. I get it. And it's reasonable to feel all this pain and feel this tragic event heavily in our hearts. He's a damn good basketball player, though. He comes up short. He's a damn good basketball player, though. You would have rather had Ben Simmons? You know what I hate, though? Oh, well, we could have got Tyrese Halliburton. I like Tyrese Halliburton. We would have bitched and complained about Tyrese Halliburton when he came up small, too, and you're acting as if it was a no-brainer lock, automatic, that they would have had Tyrese Halliburton. You weren't winning a championship last year with Tyrese Halliburton being in the shoes of James Harden. It's not enough. So I just hate that. It's like, oh, well, you could have got it. You don't know if that would have played out. Like, it wasn't an automatic. Regardless of, well, if you check this report. Do you know how reports work? I'll tell you how reports work. I'm not buying anything that it was an automatic that they would have got Tyrese Halliburton. And I wouldn't have done that anyway. I'm not pretending like I would take Tyrese Halliburton over James Harden, even though we see how this is playing out now. We don't know that at the time. I'm taking my shot on that guy. I'm taking my shot on the guy who led the league in assists last year. That's what I'm doing. All right. Let's go to Andre on the phone.
Broads, we gotta have a come to Jesus moment here. Like, is this a championship year or is this just a gap year? Like, are we just trying to get cap space? Because if it's just for cap space, then that's the only reason why we're putting up with James Harden. Because this has just gotten crazy. Now he's saying that he's not going to come. So, I mean, at this point, what I learned from the Ben Simmons situation is when a player says that he's not going to play for you again, believe him. All right? Believe him. James Harden, although he's probably going to lose a lot of money this year, he's made a lot of money in his career. So, I mean, he could afford to lose it. I just hope, as a Sixers fan, we don't have to put up with this again. I just think we should have this resolved before training camp because, I mean, I'm under the assumption that we're trying to win a championship this year. And if you're trying to win a championship this year, you don't have players like James Harden on your roster.
Yeah, but here's the alternative. You get back just random guys. You get a bunch of just Joe Schmoes. You get average guys. Well, then you're not winning a championship either. Unfortunately, they have a lot of power, these players do, and you can't just get rid of them. I know that sounds great, and I know that sounds easy, and it's NBA 2K, be a GM mode, but we can't do it. And you're right. When they say they're out, they are out. It will happen. It just takes a long time for it all to play out into fruition. Now, for anyone thinking, no one's going to want him, who would want him? Ben Simmons got moved. James Harden can get moved at some point. They all do. Name a time where someone didn't. There's always a price where someone is willing to take a shot on someone. Maybe that means Daryl Morey starts out asking for a lot and a ton, and then you peel back, which is the right thing to do. Daryl Morey asking for 5 billion things, that's what you do. And then you work down, you pluck away from it, and then it's like, oh, well, they started out asking for 5 billion things. Now they're only going to get 4 million things. Well, you're happy that you got the 4 million. You start high. It's like when something's $300 and it's 20% off. You really think it was $300? It's 20% off? No, it's a mind game. The original price that they're looking for is with the 20% off. But to you, it's, oh, it looks great. It's fine. It's two for 20, or it's, hey, you buy one, get one 50% off. Well, they were looking for the price of that being for two of them. That's what it's all about. That's the right way to approach this. Daryl Morey is probably the right guy to be in your front office while this is happening. With that said, though, as much as I'm a Morey guy, and I think that there's a lot of crapping on him throughout the fan base and at times the NBA league circle, if it gets to a point where you try and change the brand after you get rid of this James Harden thing, I wouldn't complain because I'm just sick and tired. Sick and tired. That's it. That's where I'm at. Back back to the phones.
All right, well, I just saw a video of James Harden calling Daryl Morey a liar and pretty much just bashing him out publicly while he's in China. And, while it does make me a little frustrated, one of my biggest takeaways is, why would James Harden think this is a good idea to do? If he's trying to make more money in the end and trying to get a long-term contract, why not just keep your mouth shut, opt into the season that you committed to, play for that year, and then get a big contract next year? But instead, he took this approach, and I just think it's kind of stupid on his part.
Well, it's because with him, he doesn't think this through. For James Harden, he knows there's no money. You mentioned, well, if he plays this season and he gets paid and he just puts his head down and he works and he honors the contract, he'll get paid next year. No, he won't. Because this year he could have had a chance to get a bag and nobody wanted to buy him and pay him and get in. That's why he opted in. But, who's the real liar here? The real liar is James Harden. Because what did he say? He said, I want to win a championship. I want to win a championship. I want to go somewhere where I have a chance to compete. And I don't want to hear, well, the Sixers are frauds anyway, so that's why he wants to leave. They can't really win. No. They legitimately have a chance to compete at the top of the Eastern Conference, and the reasons why they fail is because of him. It's because of him. Yes, surrounding pieces, Doc might not be good enough, and Joel Embiid definitely had a bad Game 7, and he barely touched the ball at Game 6, and there's other avenues too. But when you're the guy with the basketball in your hands and you shoot 2 for $1 billion and you suck for a bunch of games, the 40-pluses were great, but you were a product of the failure. You are the one with the ball in your hands. You are the primary guy. No, maybe you look in the mirror, man, and the Sixers do have a chance to compete. They're not far off with you being here. You don't really want to win. You're the liar. You don't care about winning. If you did, then you'd assess where you're at right now. You don't want to win. You are the liar. And with that, I'm going to shut up for now, but we'll see if anything pops up again. Anyway, I love you guys. I hate that we're talking about this, though. I really do. We'll be talking very soon. Thank you, guys. I love you. See you on the next one.